Welcome to the dearly debated 4D podcast, a new dimension in entertainment. Today, with us in the blue corner, it's Liam Maxwell. Everybody give it up for Liam, the Jungle VIP.
He's looking good.
He's looking fantastic. I mean, I honestly like this.
He looks
best,
thin.
This is the best he's ever looked. And then in the red corner, I think I switched corners on us. But in the red corner, he's the king of the swingers. Oh, Greg Prinz.
What is a swinger?
And of course, I am like jazz, like swing dance. Of course, I am your lovely host. I can't think of any other lines from the Jungle Book. I'm embarrassed for myself.
You are the bear. You are the Baroness titties.
I'm the Baroness.
You're the.
What can I say?
The Baroness titties.
I'm the bear's nest. Anyways,
It
something
made
like that.
It made sense.
It made sense in my head. All right. Well, so as you can see, we have Liam in the studio with us.
Dude, Liam. Well,
he's
first
looking
before we
fantastic.
start, Liam, what did you think about the movies?
Well, that's a
terrible take, dude.
That's a little spicy.
I think I disagree with that wholeheartedly.
I think I agree with him. Oh my God. I'm not gonna lie. I may not agree 100%, but I at least understand where he's coming from. I can see how you would have that take, even if I don't necessarily agree with it.
You know what I've been thinking about Liam lately?
But
that he's an idiot.
Liam, defend yourself. Yeah, what do you have to say to that, Greg?
He just says stupid things all the time. Anyways, we're happy that you're tuning in. We're happy you're joining us. If you are joining us, you're watching along now, and you're wondering why you can't make a comment, it's because you got to hit that subscribe button. So
yeah, don't be this guy.
Don't
subscribe.
Don't be don't be like Liam in any way. In any way, don't be like Liam. But hit that subscribe button. You'll be able to kind of watch along with us and also just make comments. We love to interact with you guys as we're going along. So ask us questions. See if we know the answers. Probably not, but ask us anyways.
Liam will know. Look at that face. He's so confident.
He's looking a little pale.
My man needs to get some sun, but you know what? He'll be okay. He'll be okay.
Anyways, so today, if you didn't know by the thumbnail, we're talking about the Jungle Book. And Liam was gracious enough to pick this one for us, so we're really excited to get to watch it. We watched the original. We had thoughts. We watched the live-action...
We had more thoughts.
Jungle remake, and we had more thoughts.
Not the regular remake. We watched specifically the Jungle remake. It was exactly the same, but there were more palm trees. It was a really...
Was it even palm trees? Are there palm trees in India?
I don't know.
It's supposed to be India, right?
I think dates grow on palm trees. I'm pretty sure they have dates in India, so I don't know. India is a very big country, and it has a lot of different climates. So I wouldn't be surprised if there are palm trees in India.
Because our first question was, are there bears in India?
Well,
what the hell is a
not
Baloo
specifically
doing?
bears. There could be bears, but maybe not like grizzly bear. There's more than one type of bear. Well, I think most people are like, oh, there's two types of bears: regular bears and polar bears. There's actually like a lot of different kinds of bears, and there's probably a bear that's native to India.
And there are a lot of things that you don't think are bears, like koalas are bears. Like
I actually don't. Panda bears and bears are like different than bears.
Pandas,
like species wise, they're different.
And koalas, I thought they were just like a weird looking kind of bear. No,
nah, they're like koalas are marsupials. They're closer to kangaroos.
Oh, because they have little pouches. Yep. Shows you how much I know.
Yep.
Probably less than
Shows
Mowgli.
how much Liam knows.
Liam, what do you think about marsupials?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Idiot. Anyways, so per usual, I will give us a little rundown on the Jungle Book, kind of bring you guys up to speed if you've never seen it, and then we'll talk a little bit about the original. We'll share what we think, and then we'll kind of get into the live action remake. So the Jungle Book, it's a classic tale. Apparently, I did a little half-ass research because Liam
decided not to. He did a zero-ass research.
So this was based off of a super old folk tale of some kind that was apparently super dark, and like the original adaptation was kind of like spot on with that, and they had to rewrite it because it was like, hey, this is super dark. And
Well, it was originally a book by Rudyard Kipling.
there we go. Okay, and it's apparently that's like the dark version.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Disney version is very much, it's like,
It's a sanitized version.
Yeah, and it's
kind of like
super-
Cinderella, like
sure.
which we'll get there. In the original Cinderella, the evil stepsisters like cut their foot, like hack up their feet to try to
Yeah.
fit them in the slippers. The Disney part left that out.
Right,
So.
right. No, and I get appropriately so. Like I very much like the original. So the story goes. It's narrated kind of by Bagheera, which is the guide of the whole movie, which is the panther character, and he's telling you about the story of the man cub. He's saying it's the oddest story of the jungle. He's kind of going along in the forest, and he finds a basket that was just kind of left there. They don't do a whole lot of exposition as to how or why this basket was left with a child in it. But
Well, you see a boat, like a boat wreck, like a shipwreck. Like there's a wrecked boat.
is that what happened?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
so
like in the wreckage of a boat. So
Okay.
presumably his parents drowned.
Okay. So he comes up, he finds the basket with the child in it. He doesn't have a heart to leave it, and so he thinks, okay, who's most equipped to raise a child? And he thinks of the wolf pack and the mother wolf specifically. And
Especially because the mother wolf like just had pups. And so he's like, oh, the
Right.
wolves are, they can take care of kids. Plus the mom wolf just had kids. And I do love that as he's narrating, he leaves the basket, mother wolf comes out, and he's like watching from the bushes.
yeah,
And he's like, well, what if, what's the dad's name?
Akila.
Akila. What if Akila doesn't like it? And Akila comes over, looks at the mom. The mom's like, yes, we're taking care of this kid. And he looks at the kid. The kid's adorable. And he's like, okay, we're taking care of this kid.
he, like,
It's a
smiles
great
too.
moment.
Yeah, no, and once again, it's a credit to the fact that you can show
Emotion.
emotion with animated animals, and when you make them live action, it's just like, and then I saw a kid, and like it's just a cat vaguely sitting there making a cat expression. Which you're like, this is how a cat always looks. I don't
Well,
know if
it's funny
sad or
because my
scared or what.
little sister has a cat, and that cat is like the most chill cat ever. She'll just like pick it up and toss it around, and cat's name is Finch. Finch just doesn't care. But it's funny because Finch doesn't have any facial expressions. His face is permanently stuck in kind of a little bit dour, just I would say like disapproving. Like when like an
Classic
old
cat
person
look.
sees young people get up to shenanigans and they're just like the kind of
Yeah.
I disapprove of this, like vaguely disapproving. That's what Finch's face is permanently stuck in. So it's just very funny when Naomi's just like messing around with Finch, and Finch's expression just does not change at all. And that's why The Lion King was trash.
Yeah, and it hits you right off the bat in this one because, like you said, you get that from Bagheera, kind of watching from the bushes. He's super excited. He's worried at first, but then he's excited when they kind of accept the man cub into their pack. And then it jumps forward, and this is like Mowgli as presumably he's like a 10-year-old.
11. Yeah.
It's supposed to be like he's on the cusp of becoming a man. And so he's like 10, 11, and they kind of get word. They just being like the
jungle.
the jungle in general just kind of gets word that Shere Khan is back, which is the tiger, and the tiger is super opposed to people, and so they know that he's going to come and kill Mowgli, who's the name of the boy. So they all decide, they're like, okay, well, we need to get him back to the man village, not just for our safety, but for his safety. So Bagheera tells him, hey, I've got to take you to the man village. And the whole movie is pretty much Bagheera trying to get Mowgli to this man village, and Mowgli doesn't really want to go. He doesn't have a care in the world. He doesn't really fear Shere Khan at all. And he meets all these characters. First, he runs into there's like a horde of elephants, and you kind of meet them.
I actually
and it's
think
really
the first
funny.
person they run into is Ka.
Is that before the elephants? I think it's
Yeah.
the elephants wake them up, and then after that he go maybe
No,
maybe
because
you're right.
they run into Ka like after the first night. They go up to the tree to sleep, and then Ka just like pops in.
Ka's the greatest character. We'll get more into that when we talk about our thoughts. But so he runs into like a snake whose name's Ka. He runs into a horde of elephants who are kind of like the army essentially. It's like the military. They're marching and like giving orders. And then he runs into Baloo, who's one of the most beloved characters, probably just in Disney in general. And he falls in love with the carefreeness of Baloo. He says, Bagheera, don't worry about it, I'll stay here. And Bagheera kind of just gets fed up, and I kind of forgot that part of the movie where he's like, all right, fine, like whatever.
Yeah,
like,
he gets frustrated.
yeah,
which
he's like,
understandably
you can take it.
so.
Yeah, and so he leaves. momentarily until inevitably Baloo shouts out for Bagheera. He comes back, and the monkeys have taken Mowgli. They go to find Mowgli. He's being like courted by King Louie, who's just trying to like convince him that he'll basically like give the man cub Mowgli all of his like riches as being King Louie, whatever that entails, bananas and like a horde of monkeys. If he trades him the secret to man's red flower, which is fire, and Mowgli obviously doesn't know how to use that or create it, and King Louie doesn't quite understand it, and so he's just trying to like coerce him into giving up his secret. And so then Baloo and Bagheera come back. They get Mowgli. They run away. Then Mowgli runs away even more because he's mad at both Bagheera and Baloo. And then that's when he runs into he runs into a bunch of he basically runs into the Beatles. He runs into the Beatles in the form of vultures, who are just like awesome characters. They're just singing and like just like pretty much high. Like I don't even know how to say it.
I mean, they're the Beatles.
And then Shere Khan does show up. It's the climax of the movie. There's kind of a big fight. He uses fire to chase off Shere Khan, and at that point, there's like you don't even need to go back to the Man Village now. Kind of like feel like everybody's just so relieved that he chased off Shere Khan. They're relieved also that Baloo didn't die. There was a close tangle with death he had. But then he ends up hearing. It's one of the most beautiful parts of the movie. He hears the young girl singing,
and it's just
her
instantly
song,
smitten.
and he's like nothing else might as well exist at that point, which is so great. And he follows her into the village. And that's the end of the movie. He kind of waves back, and Baloo's so torn up. He's like, "Come back, come back!" But Bagheera's like, "Go on."
That's a great part.
And so that's the end of the movie. They walk off singing "Bare Necessities" together, Baloo and Bagheera, and that's the movie. So I guess we'll start with Liam. Liam, what were you? I mean, this is your pick, so tell us like what were like your general thoughts?
Well, I thought it was pretty good. Yeah, basically, I was a little too concerned. I was thinking about volleyball a lot.
Yeah, I see that you brought the volleyball with you today.
Yeah, I just can't get it out of my head. But, I thought the songs were pretty good.
Yeah.
I changed my mind about Be Prepared. I now recognize it's the best song.
Oh, okay,
written.
okay.
Yeah.
I figured you would.
Guys, I was just messing with all those hot takes. I just said it to make you mad.
Yeah. We figured, yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good. We're glad to hear from you, Liam. All right, so what about you? We watched it together, Nathaniel. What how'd you like the first one? How'd you like the original Jungle Book?
I really enjoyed it. It was one of the ones. So, as we're going back through these, I've watched all of them at least once, right? Because I grew up on Disney animated classics. So I've watched all of them at least once. But some of them I just like I still, we have to do Lady and the Tramp, and I literally cannot think of a single scene outside of the spaghetti scene, which admittedly is a pretty famous scene. Like everybody knows that scene.
Right.
But like what else? Does anything else happen in Lady and the Tramp? I don't know. And if you tell me if you tell me you think you know, you're lying to me. The movies like Pinocchio and Peter Pan, and Dumbo, like never really stuck in my brain. Jungle Book, is actually like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So obviously all the songs, all the music from Jungle Book, but I just hadn't watched it in a really long time.
Right.
So I didn't remember. I remember the basic storylines because almost every major plot point in the movie is accompanied by a song. Mm-hmm. So if you remember the songs, you remember what happens in the movie. But there's a lot of stuff going on in the story that I thought was really, really interesting. Mm-hmm. How in depth do you want me to get, or am I just giving my initial impressions?
I mean, well, it's just going to be me and you, so we're just. I imagine Liam's not going to.
I really, really like it. It's not long, which is nice. I thought they did a great job. Mowgli is a kid, and he behaves like a kid.
Yeah,
which is something they kind of changed a little bit in the remake, which we'll get to. But I really like that he is just a kid. And one of the things I really, really liked, which they kind of did in the live action. Mm-hmm. And again, when we say live action, the Jungle Book is very much in public domain. So there have been a lot of live action Jungle Books. We were specifically talking about the most recent Disney one with Bill Murray and I don't remember anyone else.
So Bill Murray plays Baloo, does the voice of Baloo, and John, who's the guy that does King Louie? I never.
Oh, it's Christopher Walken.
Christopher Walken
is King Louie.
King Louie, it came out at a time where
Came out a year after
Andy
Cinderella.
Serkis made
That's right.
a movie called Mowgli, like not even like in the same year. It was like the same weekend. Like both came out where it was like Mowgli and The Jungle Book, and I'm like, what am I watching? I've actually never seen Mowgli. Heard
Well,
it
it's
wasn't
kind of
very
like
good.
it's kind of like Guillermo del Toro's stop motion
Stop motion.
Pinocchio came out the same year that actually like the exact same time that Disney's live action remake was, and apparently Guillermo del Toro's is very good. And
Disney's
is a freaking shambles, which was when we come to. But
Shocker.
one thing I really like is, so obviously there's like the really touching moment where Bagheera's like, okay, I want this kid to grow up, and Bagheera's like, I don't know how to take care of a human kid. This kid needs a mother, so he finds someone to be the mother, the wolf cub, and so he grows up with the wolves, and they show that happening, and then they find out Shere Khan's coming back, and they actually have a council, and they say what's going to happen when Shere Khan comes back, and they're like, oh, he's going to kill Mowgli, and so they call up Akela and they say, Akela, he has to go.
Right.
And it's really interesting because everyone, when they find out that Shere Khan is coming for Mowgli, they're like, the only option we have is to get him out of the jungle.
Right.
So Shere Khan is like this. You don't see him until the very end of the movie. And honestly, like when you do see him, he doesn't do a whole lot. He doesn't really. I mean, he does kind of show his power when he like almost kills Baloo.
Right.
But you get this impression from all of the other jungle animals that no one can stand up to Shere Khan.
Right.
Shere Khan is just this force, this absolute powerhouse that if he wants to kill you, you can't stop him.
Right.
So none of them even consider like, oh, maybe we can fight him together. They're just like, oh, if Shere Khan wants to kill him, we have to get him out of here.
Yeah.
And that's even Baloo, because Baloo initially is like against Bagheera, and it's really interesting because Bagheera clearly represents responsibility.
Right.
And Baloo is, like free-spirited, do what you want.
Yeah.
And they both have their appeal. Like initially Bagheera has no appeal, but then as soon as Bagheera's like, Shere Khan is trying to kill him, Baloo's like, oh, we need to get him to safety because none of us can keep him safe from Shere Khan. None of us can.
But
Shakira
also,
is coming, and those hips don't
but
lie. She's
also,
going to kill Mowgli.
He probably couldn't keep Mowgli safe from Shakira if he really, if we're being honest.
The hips don't lie. Mowgli is done for. Shakira's on the hunt. You can't stop her.
No, but man, in watching the original, I think I forgot how much I liked almost like every aspect of that movie. This might rank very high, like surprise you guys at how high it ranks amongst my Disney originals, because I thought let's just talk about the music alone.
Oh,
like just
fantastic.
Like you mentioned something that I think they did really well, which is that they're pretty much an introduction to a character and there's a song for it. So the first, like you kind of get the underlying tone of the movie, which is and it plays kind of all the time when he's walking through the jungle. And by the end, it's the tune that the girl is singing, although she sings lyrics to it, which are really cute and charming. She's like, I will go to find a husband. And just, but pretty much
the patriarchy song, Greg.
Right. I mean, yeah, right. I guess I can't even sing about that stuff because she's like talking about, she's like, she'll be a good wife and like she'll find a good husband. I'm like, oh, God forbid that like
she's like, oh, one day I'll have a husband and a daughter.
Yeah,
and I'll be a mother, and it'll be great. Like, oh no,
oh no.
Women can be mothers.
But the first like character entry is, well, I guess it's Ka. So Ka shows up and it's the voice. So
it's Winnie the Pooh.
It's the voice of Winnie the Pooh, and he's just the greatest character. And I'm gonna say this about every character because there's so many good characters in this movie. But he's just like this. He's this snake, and just like his mannerisms and the animation, he's like.
Well, it works really well. It's funny because for Pooh Bear, Pooh's just like, he's really soft spoken. He's really gentle. He's really spacey. Mm-hmm. And so the voice actor who plays Pooh, whose name I can't remember, just does a great job as Pooh. But then putting that in the character of Ka, it's now this really soft-spoken, seductive. Okay, so what's with Disney and snakes being hypnotists?
That is the one thing.
And Jafar's staff was also a snake.
Right.
So it's like, somebody let us know. Is there a legend of snakes hypnotizing people? Because I'm unclear about it.
Yeah, if you're watching in the chat, somebody look that up and send it, because it's my understanding that it's the opposite, that you can charm a snake.
Sure.
You can kind of, there is some method, and maybe it's kind of like maybe it's not entirely true. I don't know how they do it, or maybe it's more of like fantasy, but like that you can hypnotize a snake, and like they can play the little music and it comes out of the
they sway to the rhythm.
right, and it's like, okay, maybe there's some truth to that in some weird way. I don't really understand it. But I've never heard it working the opposite way. And I don't know anything about like animal biology, but like I don't think that I don't even think they do that to animals. They don't they bite them and then they go paralyzed if they're venomous, or they'll strangle. Like those are the two different kinds of snake, are constricting snakes and venomous snakes. That's my snake knowledge. But apparently Disney was like
pretty correct.
in both the original and the live action. They're like, oh yeah, and then the snake uses its hypnotizing powers, and I'm like, wait.
Although weirdly in the remake, Ka was okay. In both instances, Ka is trying to. I can say it's Pooh Bear and clearly male in the original, and then it's voiced by
Scarlett Johansson.
Scarlett Johansson. So it's Black Widow snake in the Black Serpent Widow.
I guess both of them do have an appeal, and like one, you hear the voice and you're like, oh, like I kind of just want to hug this snake, and the other one, you're like, oh damn, this snake's kind of fine. It's Scarlett Johansson. That's clearly what they're going for. That's clearly what they're going for because Liam thinks so too. Well, we haven't got to live action yet, but the whole time she's talking, she's like, do you trust me? Will you stay with me? As opposed to like the original where he's like, little man cub. And he's like, why? Like he's hysterical.
He's great. But yeah, that just they use the exact same properties of his voice being kind of soft and a little grainy is not the right word, but a little coarse. Yeah. But still that very soft spoken quality of that voice actor, and suddenly it takes on a much more sinister. Oh, he's gonna eat this kid. Yeah. He uses his powers. And it's really interesting when because he hypnotizes Bagheera at one point. Yeah. And
look me in the eyes when I'm talking to you.
And then
both
later,
eyes,
both eyes. And then later he tries to
hypnotize
Shere Khan. And that's when you get kind of an impression of his power.
Yeah.
Is Shere Khan's just like not having it.
Right.
So so you see Shere Khan is in like complete control in the couple of scenes that he's in.
Yeah.
So
and there's really definitely like there's a pretty deep representation with Shere Khan and like man's fire, like representing
right.
Just, like,
it's like Shere Khan is not unwrong. He's not wrong.
Right.
He's not wrong in fearing man. So his whole thing is, I know what man is capable of, and I actually think they kind of ruined that a little bit in the remake, because that one the remake really was a revenge plot on both sides. But in this one, it's like Shere Khan doesn't like man because he knows what man does to the jungle. And I was like, okay, that's actually like, he's not wrong. Like he's wrong to take it out on Mowgli.
Sure. Right.
Him saying, oh, this man is a man cub. And his whole point is, I'm going to kill this man cub before he becomes a man and starts destroying my jungle.
Right.
And again, he's like, he has a point.
Yeah. And I don't think that any of the characters in the original are meant to be like, they're just existing as like plot points for the main character. Like it's about Mowgli growing up. Like it's a growing up story about him maturing, and he's taking, and like that's what the man village represents, is like growing up into a man. Like it's like you have to become a man and go to the man village. And his reluctance to do that is his immaturity as a kid, and you understand that he's a kid the whole movie. He's just doing what he wants. And then you run into characters like Baloo, who represent like that friend that doesn't want to grow up, and he's like the representation of staying in the jungle and not growing up. This is what you'll turn into. You won't have any problems in life.
Well, it's kind of the Hakuna Matata thing, where it's like,
exactly.
Oh, you just don't let things bother you. You be happy with the little that you have, which is fine. I mean, there's like there are good aspects too, where he's like, I just I just go with the flow.
Right.
I'm content with what I get.
Right.
And so there are good takeaways, but then also, he's lazy.
Yeah.
He's
like,
a bum.
It's like if that's so it like each of the characters represents like an overindulgence in one area.
Right.
Whereas like there are elements of Baloo that you can like, oh, if like Bagheera took a little bit of this, well, like he'd be a more complete character. But Baloo as a whole is like an unhealthy character. He doesn't do anything. He's completely lazy. He's like, don't worry about anything. And then you have characters like King Louie, who it's like, well, I'm like taking advantage of the system and whatever, and I'm pretty much just here to seek more power.
Yeah, he's an interesting character to me because his song gives his whole motivation away. He's like, I've gotten everything that a monkey could possibly want.
Right.
I'm literally the king of the monkeys.
Right.
But that's not good enough for
Yeah,
me. I want more, and what he sees as more is man, and what he perceives as, hey, what do they have that we don't?
And it's knowledge.
Is they have, basically knowledge,
Yeah.
but he perceives it in fire, which is this really powerful, dangerous thing that they don't fully understand, and they have no control over, which we see later in the movie. Which the live action is like
the live action gets, we'll get into that. It muddies so much the themes. And we'll get into
and one of the other things that's really interesting is that the whole time people are telling Mowgli, Shere Khan is going to kill you. And Mowgli just does not understand. Because he's a kid, and this is one of the things I think they did a really good job with. Mowgli does not understand that he's in danger because he hasn't actually experienced danger. And so his first experience is when he is with the monkeys, and that's the first thing. But then the monkeys are like pretty chill. But then when Shere Khan actually shows up, he actually understands, oh, I could die right now. And then when Baloo almost dies, he understands, oh, it's a situation that basically, in a sense, makes him, he has to move past his naivete of, I just want to live in the jungle and have fun all the time. And it's like, no, there's real danger here. And also, the jungle is not the best place for you. There might, you might do fine in the jungle, but it's not where you're meant to thrive. Where he's meant to thrive is in the man village. And then, of course, it's him seeing... It's A, him understanding the danger, and B, when he sees the girl, who I'm sure has a name, because I think the whole second, the bad sequel,
there's a bad sequel.
There's a bad sequel to every single.
Dang it!
There's a Jungle Book 2.
Boo, Disney.
But I'm pretty sure she's in that one, but I don't remember, because obviously we don't meet her really in the original. So if she's named in the credits, I don't know. Hey, viewers, if you know what the name of the girl is, please let me know, because I don't think she's named.
Yeah, there is a name. Put it in the chat.
But he sees, hey, it's not just me getting away from danger. There are also things in the man village that I can't get in the jungle.
Right.
And one of those things is companionship. One of those things is people who are like me in the sense of the same species.
Right.
I don't want to be like, I need to be with people who are like me.
Yeah, that's not the theme of the Jungle Book.
No, that's not the theme of the Jungle Book. Isn't like, you should be with your own people. That's not the theme of the Jungle Book.
It's not a racist movie.
Men should be with men cubs. There is the funny thing. There is the funny thing where, because Bagheera's like, you should be in the man village with other men.
Yeah.
With other humans.
Right.
You wouldn't marry a panther. He's like, Baloo, you wouldn't marry a panther. Baloo's like, I don't know. A panther's never asked me. And then Mowgli's like, a panther's never asked me. It's pretty funny. It's like a throwaway line, but it's actually pretty funny. But the whole point is, that Mowgli doesn't realize that he needs to grow up. It's similar to Peter Pan. The themes are similar.
The themes line up,
but they're told very differently. So in Peter Pan, I think it's the major theme in Peter Pan is motherhood.
Yeah,
and the need to grow up in the sense of becoming more mature so that you can become the adult that you need to be. Whereas in the Jungle Book, it's more just about
growing up. It's
more of an
internal
internal clash between responsibility and I get libertarianism.
Well,
or liberty.
I mean, like a carefree life. I mean, you could say like hedonism, but
yes,
I mean,
but at the same time, again, there are good things to both things. Whereas in Peter Pan, it's recognizing that because again the specter of growing up is seen as Captain Hook.
Right.
And it's like, oh, you could grow up to be this bad thing. Whereas in this one, it's like, oh, no, there are things you're missing by not growing up. It's the things that you in order to thrive, to like the things that you actually need, it's wants versus needs. It really is like the most basic character hero's journey thing where it's you want to stay in the jungle, but you need to grow up so that you can have these other things that will make you a more complete human being.
Right. And then that's why we talked kind of briefly about the different characters that he meets along the way are representations of if you were to stay in the jungle or to not grow up, like to not mature, you're going to end up like one of these characters. You're going to end up either overly licentious and just laying around like Baloo all day, and you're life's going to be carefree, but you're not going to be like working towards anything. And we even see this in Baloo, right? Baloo goes from caring about himself 100%. He's just a lazy bear eating and sleeping and eating and sleeping. That's all he does. To caring for somebody other than himself, and that's the only thing that causes him to mature a little bit is responsibility. He all of a sudden feels responsible for Mowgli, and instantly he's like, oh, you're right, there is real responsibility here. Shere Khan's after him. All right, you take him. He's like, you take him. And he's sad about this, obviously, because he likes Mowgli. And that development of friendship is really charming to see in the movie. It's great. Like I love watching it. But you can see him be like, oh, well, I can't live true to my lifestyle of being carefree about everything and also worry about you. Like, you can see that conflict within him with being like, well, if I'm truly bare necessities, forget about your worries. Like, you have become one of my worries because I love you as like I've grown to love you, and now that I love you and you're a child, I all of a sudden have responsibility, so I have worries.
Yeah, and more than that, it's also the fact that, again, Mowgli doesn't understand the danger that Shere Khan poses, and Baloo understands that, and it's like, I am not sufficient to protect Mowgli from Shere Khan.
Yeah,
and I don't want to see him get injured or killed. So I need to, even though I want him to stay around and I want him to live this life with me and be a bear, I have to, in a sense, Baloo has to grow up and take responsibility and be like, you have to go, even though it hurts him a lot, and it hurts Mowgli, and it hurts his relationship with Mowgli, because he knows, and it's a very parental thing where it's like, you have to make the best decision for your child. Your child might not always understand that. And in fact, when they're younger, they won't understand it because it takes a fully formed brain to understand some of these things. And part of being a parent, or in many senses, any authority figure, but mostly a parent, part of being a parent is saying no when you know that your child will be better off not having the thing that they want.
Right. It's like you have Baloo, who's just seeking to be the friend and say, hey, look at this casual lifestyle, don't you want to join me? And like, we see that that's not a sufficient way to parent, because in this way, everybody that meets Mowgli, like that is their responsibility, is to parent in a certain way. And you have King Louie just wanting to take from him. You have Bagheera, who's essentially acting as the guide in the movie. Like he is the guide throughout the movie. He's narrating the movie, and he's the one who actually understands what needs to happen. Although on a human level, he doesn't really connect with Mowgli as well. And I think that's probably the representation of a parent in the movie, is him saying, well, this is what needs to happen. This is why we're doing it. So I'm explaining it to you briefly. You don't understand it. That's okay. We're going to, I'm still taking you there.
Right.
And he does get fed up. It's not like he's a perfect parent. And he's like, all right, fine. Like screw you. And he leaves him. And he comes back.
In fact, he's very parent-like. He gets angry.
Yeah.
He loses his temper, but then he comes back because he can't abandon his child.
And you know that it's ultimately like regardless of how he's acting towards Mowgli, it's because he loves him. Like he even admits it at the beginning of the movie, where he's like, I wish to that day, if I knew what trouble it would have been, just to leave him there. But my heart was concerned, like I had to do it. Like I had to, like I couldn't just leave him there. Like, and you see the sympathy in his face, which is another reason why the animation is
so
just
good.
Fantastic in this movie. Like you see all the just like the hysterical facial expressions are so,
just like the what.
I mean,
the...
King Louie's animation alone. Go and watch right now. Go and watch I Want to Be Like You. Just like
That's
type
so
it
good.
on YouTube. And like his animation and just his jabbering in between the song and stuff, like zabadoo-dee-doo, that's me. And he's just like the way he talks,
and
like
then
he's the coolest character.
And then they're like going to rescue him, and Baloo just like starts moving. Bagheera's just like, "What are you doing?" Like, I'm gone, man. Solid gone. He's just dancing. He can't help himself or dance to music. I love that. I love it when music is like in universe, because that makes it more fun. It's like, no, these guys are actually singing these songs.
Like they're jamming out so hard, and like you can tell Baloo's like trying to scheme the plan. He's like, yeah, okay, Baggy, I got you, Bagheera. And he just sits there and he's like, oh man, that's it. And he starts dancing, and he's like, pay attention, Baloo. He's like, yeah, okay. And he starts dancing again, and then he just forgets it, and he just goes and walks in and starts dancing with him. Like, it's honestly, that is one of the most fantastic scenes in like, out of in all of our feet of what we're like at movie 7 now through these Disney, that might have been one of the happiest moments I've had watching an anime. Like, it's just so good, because those are two of the like Baloo and King Louie are just two of the greatest animated characters, and it's them meeting each other. And it couldn't be better. Like they're like he poses as a orangutan. Like he puts
coconut
like,
shells on his face.
Shells, and like Louis sees him, and Louis just like a monkey would run, like with his hands up, and it's just the greatest scene. And they dance together and they sing, and then it's the whole jazz part where they're going zabadoo-dee.
Yeah, a little bit of jazz scat.
Yeah, it's just
fantastic.
it's amazing.
It's a great scene. And this movie has a lot of really good slapstick.
Yes.
It's not overdone. Like it's very It's a very goofy movie.
Yeah, it is.
But there's a lot of really
humor
good.
is amazing.
There's a lot of really good slapstick. Especially at the end of that dancing scene where the temple's just like collapsing and they're all just running around like falling over.
The part where Bagheera poses as the statue. That got me, man. There's like he's running for the monkey.
He poses next to this lion statue and he sits up and he looks at the statue and he goes, ah.
Yeah, the statue next to him is just it's a panther like holding up a rock. And so he's running for the monkeys and he turns and he like jumps in next to the statue and he like holds his hands up and then he looks over and he sees that panther has his mouth open, so he like opens his mouth real quick and he looks just like it and they all run past him and he like sneaks away, but then like Baloo breaks through the door and smashes him in the face. Like it's a really funny scene.
It's really funny.
I would say the humor is like top. Like I don't think
when the vultures show up, which the vultures, I'm like, are those vultures? Because they're like, hey, let's go check out this kid. And I thought they were like gonna mess with him, but then they show up and they're like, oh, you're all alone?
Yeah,
well, you can be with us. We're a barbershop quartet. And then they just start singing. It's
like
fantastic.
That was one of the most charming parts of the movie is that most of the characters that meet Mowgli are like sympathetic in a way, excluding like Louie, he really doesn't do anything like other than like stealing him. He doesn't like hurt him physically. And he doesn't threaten him with violence. He just wants what his potential as being a man of growing up, and like he can't have that as an ape. But all the other characters are like the elephants. He starts like marching with them, and they're like, oh, what is this? What happened to your trunk? This is very irregular. And then it's like, cut that out. He's like, oh, but then
the most British elephant other than Babar.
And then of course he meets Baloo, and Baloo welcomes in. Yeah, and then he meets, and I didn't remember that part at all, but he meets those vultures, and they're kind of like at first they're out for their own good. They're like, hey, we just want to see somebody die so we can eat something. Like, and they're sitting around going, what do you want to do? Like that's like the humor there is that they keep asking each other what they're gonna do. But then they see Mowgli and they kind of go down and they're like jabbing at him, they're making fun of him, and Mowgli's crying, and like they instantly are like, oh shoot, dude. And they're like, hey, like let us sing for you, and they sing a song about being his friend, and it's like,
it's very
this
cute.
is so great. Like what a great movie. Like
then when Shere Khan attacks, they help him out.
Yeah, they all help out. Like it's like all the care. Like you get Baloo and Bagheera coming and helping out, and then it ends with him kind of like, I think the imagery here is that he is finally accepting the idea that he has to, if he is going to exist at all, like he has to start like being a man, and he uses the fire to chase off Shere Khan. Like he accepts the fact that like he's got to grow up in some way. But yeah, overall, I thought it was an amazing movie. Like each of the songs are like they're awesome. I think the two being I Want to Be Like You and Bare Necessities.
Oh, fantastic.
As a 1-2 is pretty tough to top. I mean, those
it's pretty garnered.
And it's hard to not like hear those and want to start singing along and like bobbing your head and tapping your foot because like they're just catchy songs.
I mean, Louis Prima is just he's phenomenal. And he's really good at doing like funny jazz songs. I don't know if you ever hit. There's a song he sings about. It's like, I think it's called Banana Split, and he's just singing about he like takes his girlfriend to an ice cream parlor. And he keeps singing about banana split for my baby and a glass of cold water for me. And then he keeps talking about all the toppings she's going to get. And then they come with a check and it's like, banana split. He basically leaves her with the check. His stuff is hysterical. It's so funny.
So obviously the three of us, especially Liam, really liked the original. And we got a chance to watch the live action after that. So let me just finish up one thought.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Something that just occurred to me. It's really interesting because the two cats, Bagheera and Shere Khan, represent his responsibility chasing him from one end and the consequences of him not taking responsibility chasing him from the other end. And then every other animal, he goes and he tries to fit in with them, but he can't.
Right.
He tries to be a wolf. He tries to be a bear. He tries to be a monkey. He tries to be an elephant. And he just doesn't fit in. And then he ends up fitting in the man village. So it's like,
yeah,
there you go.
Yeah,
he found where he fits.
Yeah, I mean, and that is the message that's like, hey, this is like you are going to grow up one way or another.
Yeah,
like whether you
and also you'll find a place you fit in.
Right. Yeah.
But
the live action did not have that same message.
No, the live action had a very. Now I will say, let me just say right off the bat, live action was not a bad movie.
No, it wasn't.
It was not a bad movie.
It wasn't.
But they changed the story, and I don't like it as much as the original.
Yeah, this was one of the few times that, so Aladdin was 2 times ago. We did Dumbo last. Woof. Don't get us started on
I mean, if you were watching last episode, I literally lost it and threw my hat across the
Nathanael
room.
spoke for like 85% of last episode.
I could not
all at a volume that was
I could not handle it. That movie just triggered me so hard.
So
My
we're glad
goodness.
it's not talking about Dumbo. But with Aladdin, that was the first time that we kind of admitted that we're like, okay, it's not as good as the original, but it's kind of a solid movie. The live action is a solid
it's
movie.
good.
I don't know if I would put this on the same level with the Aladdin live action.
I probably wouldn't. Because here's the difference for me. So they both made tweaks to the story.
Oh yeah, big. Well, this one way more
pretty
extreme.
major tweaks to the story, and I think the Aladdin added some nuance.
Yeah.
And added some stuff that I was like, oh, I like that decision, but kept the overall.
Story, yeah.
This one fundamentally changed
the whole story is
characters
different.
and the reasons. I mean, the basic
Motivation
framing
is
is the
completely
same, but
different.
the motivations are completely different.
Yeah.
And so, in my mind, it's actually a much weaker movie.
Yeah.
In terms of the character motivations and the reasons that everyone's doing things.
For me, as far as like the ones we've watched so far, it's just the only other one other than Aladdin that has crossed the threshold into being like
being a movie I could say I would watch that again.
Yeah, exactly. It crosses past like the 50% like margin where
crosses the mid mark.
All the other ones are sitting down there at like 15% and rotten, like in the Greg's form of Rotten Tomatoes, like the really bad. All the live actions honestly have just been
Rotten
atrocious.
Lychees.
They've been terrible. And then Aladdin was the first one that I'm like, this was actually not a terrible movie. Like it was solid.
Which was, and again, that first 20 minutes really make it feel like it's going to be in the bottom 10%.
Yeah.
Because that original song is so egregious. And this is one thing about live action Jungle Book.
Yeah.
They didn't auto-tune or post-process the voices. So when Bill Murray's singing Bare Necessities, it's Bill Murray, and he misses a couple notes, not by a lot, but like you can tell it's a real human being singing this song, and it works.
Yeah, like it sounds like the character in the movie, Baloo,
Singing the song.
is singing about the bare necessities. It's not like all of a sudden a recording starts playing. Now I will say, as far as like, well, let's just give a quick little synopsis about the differences.
Do you want me to
talk? Yeah. Why don't you tell us about
synonymize?
Like, give us the rundown of the new one.
So basically, the new one starts with. The jungle goes without water for a really long time, and because of that, the water level drops really low, and it drops so low that it uncovers this rock, and apparently this is this peace rock where if the water ever drops this low, then all the animals in the jungle call a truce, and they can come drink at this well without anyone attacking. And that water looked nasty, but whatever. But basically, there's this permit. They call it the water truce, where any animal can come to this watering hole to get water because there's a scarcity of water, and you won't get attacked. Which was, I guess, kind of interesting.
Yeah, it was like their version of explaining why
all the animals are working together, not eating each other.
Why they're not eating each other? Like, oh, we all need water.
But they discover Mowgli. I don't remember how they find Mowgli, and he gets raised by the wolf family.
Yeah, this one he's like.
He's already part of it.
If I remember correctly, it kind of opens with him already running through.
It opens with him already part of it.
Yeah,
and in this one, Mowgli is an inventor.
Well,
so he's like putting together. So they go to the watering hole, and he's made a little bucket out of a coconut shell, and he's got it on a rope, and he's throwing it into the water and scooping up the water and drinking from that. And the wolves, all the animals are giving him weird looks, and the wolves are like, enough of your little tricks. Like be a normal wolf, please.
Yeah, and I think the idea is that like it's not even necessarily meant to be like, oh, he's an engineer, even though in reality it's like in order to do all the things he does, he's got to be an engineer.
In that case, that one's pretty simple, but later on.
But I think the point they're trying to make is like inevitably this is how man is going to survive.
Sure.
Like he represented like in their terms, like the evolution of man being like, oh, okay, you start off like in the jungle like a wolf, but you can't exist out here like a wolf because you're not like you don't have claws and fur and all these things. And so he has to get by.
To me, it was less of that. It was more like this is what sets him apart from the animals because he doesn't have all the wolves are like faster. They show that like the wolves are faster than him. He can't keep up with the wolves in the hunt. So it's like, oh, he has to resort to using tools to keep up.
Exactly.
However, how would he have any concept of a tool? And then later they show him doing like complex engineering with like pulleys and things like that. And you're like, okay, a rope and a bucket I can absolutely believe he'd be like, hey, what if I just put these two things together? You know,
Yeah.
I'm like, if I could come up with that, then I believe this kid could come up with it. I'm giving him a lot of credit. So I'm, 4 times as old as this kid. If I could come up with it, I believe he can. I'm giving him a lot of credit here. Okay. But I'm saying he's wise beyond his years. But then he literally comes up with this whole rigging system and he has it marked out. He's like, step forward to this part and that'll raise me up just enough. And you're like, now hold on a second.
Yeah.
You suspended my disbelief more than you're suspending Mowgli right now. But so basically he gets taken in by the wolves and Shere Khan comes to the watering hole and sees Mowgli and is like, what is this man cub doing here? And in this one, Shere Khan's missing an eye because he
looks a lot more scary.
Yeah,
like he looks like a scary.
He looks like a scary tiger. Yeah, he looks a little like derpy. He's got this massive round chin in the original. He just kind of looks like a goon.
In the original, whoever plays his voice though is like it's so booming.
Interesting.
It's like hello, man cub, and like he hits that low. He like joins in the vulture song right at the end to be like their baritone. He's like, that's what friends are for. It's like so low, and in this one, he's actually just a really creepy.
He's just kind of menacing.
Tiger.
Yeah, he's just kind of menacing. But so they all decide, and this is Akela decides this too. Like, okay, Mowgli, you can't be a wolf anymore. They basically banish him from the pack, and they have this that the pack has this like chant like we're part of the pack, we're part of the pack, and so if like the wolf doesn't leave the pack, the strength of the wolf is the pack, and the strength of the pack is the wolf. That's like really it was way too long. I'm like, guys, 2 or 3 lines. It was like 10 lines. They had this whole chant. About being a wolf is great. Woo! And they basically kick him out because they're like, Shere Khan's going to come get you. Even if we band together, we're not willing to sacrifice all of our cubs for this man cub. Right. Which is, somewhat reasonable for everyone except Akela, right? It's like Akela and whoever the female wolf was.
I don't even know.
Reasonably, she did have a name. Okay. Reasonably, they would be like, we're not going to give up Mowgli. And they were like, we don't want to give up Mowgli. But the rest of the pack is like, hey, we're not going to sacrifice our kids for your adopted kid. Right. Which is, you can argue about the morality of it, but you can at least understand what the other wolves are thinking. So they send him off, but Bagheera's like, I'll take him. And so they go, and it basically goes through all the different things. They run into Baloo. Yeah. They run into now the elephants are completely different. So in the original, the elephants are like British military. Mm-hmm. Letty Tejeda says, Greg, love you, my Tarzan.
Okay.
So you're her Tarzan.
It's Jungle Book. It's a different movie.
Yeah, this is a different book, but that's okay. Hey, you're in the right locale.
Yeah.
No, because Tarzan takes place in Africa. This is in India. So you're not even on the right continent.
It's you're miles away.
Miles
way
away.
Off.
He's like way off.
It's one of the Skarsgård brothers. Although I feel like if I had a celebrity lookalike, it'd be one of the Skarsgård brothers. I don't know. What celebrity do I look like?
Dude, I'm bad with faces. I don't know. Although I will say there's one kid in one of my classes that I swear looks like a small Dave Grohl.
All right.
I don't tell you.
Sorry.
Anyways, so the elephants in this one are just like they're like mythical creatures. So like they show up and Bagheera and Mowgli bow down to them because they're like, the elephants carved the rivers with their tusks and they basically created the jungle. Yeah. And they're like this mysterious mythical creatures, and then they kind of walk on and they don't show up again for quite a while. And they meet Baloo. Bagheera and Mowgli have an argument and fall out. Yeah. And no, that's not what happens. They fall off the log, or they're making their trip, and they both slipped off the cliff. There's a mudslide or something happens, and they get separated. And so,
he's running from Shere Khan, right?
No.
Yeah.
Was that
he runs from Shere Khan early in the movie.
Early in the movie, yeah.
Yeah, you remember there's all the wildebeest, and then Shere Khan jumps out of nowhere. He's like, Mowgli, run! And Shere Khan, there's a new chase scene that, like in the original,
you're right.
Shere Khan doesn't show up till the very end, then he meets Mowgli. This one, he's chasing him from the beginning, and because Shere Khan had showed up and he was like, hey, give me the man cub and I'll kill him. And they're like, we'll decide what we want to do with him. Right. And then he comes back later and he's like, hey, what happened to the man cub? And they're like, oh, well, we let him go. He's out of our concern, so it's no longer our problem. And then he just yeets the main wolf.
Right, that's right. He does that after the chase.
He does that after the chase. Because he's like, I didn't get him, so he's upset clearly. And he comes back and he yeets.
He it's very funny. He literally just yeets Akela off the cliff and kills him, and then just sits down there and chills. But
like it's the quickest moving on point I've ever seen. Like it shocked me. Like when it happened, I was like, when we were watching,
because this ragdoll just going.
He gets thrown off of a cliff, and then Shere Khan just turns and he's like, Do I have your attention now? All right, this is what's gonna happen. And I'm like, wait. A character that had like
Those were people you killed,
I
Shere
was like,
Khan.
he had like 25 speaking lines. He's pretty much had tied for the most speaking lines in the movie thus far, and he wasn't like killed in a brutal fight. He was just like thrown, like flung off of a cliff, and like you don't see him land. There's not people's sad faces. It's just back to Shere Khan being like, all right, let me get on with my plan. And I'm like, hold on. You think we're not going to notice you just threw that dog?
It's very abrupt because they're like having an argument, and Shere Khan's like, and Akil's like, do something. Shere Khan's like, okay. Just ices him instantly. But so Shere Khan chases them, and Mowgli and Bagheera get separated. That's when Kaa shows up. Now it's it's very similar that Kaa is trying to eat Mowgli and hypnotizes him, but also like shows him his past and shows that his dad was the one who damaged Shere Khan's eye with a torch, but then abandoned Mowgli and ran away.
Right.
So Kaa kind of reveals the backstory. Then Baloo comes in and saves Mowgli from Kaa, and that's how they get together. Now, what's interesting is in the original, Baloo's just like a chill dude, and is like, hey, kid, and it's just friendly, right? Yeah. In this one, he's like conniving.
Yeah, it's definitely like the original one. You do miss out on the charm of the original, where he's basically explaining, like he shows up and Mowgli's like a little punk. He's like trying to fight him. He's like, oh, I can take care of myself. And he's laughing at him. He's like, oh, you're cute. And then he's just like tapping, like he like slaps him and he goes flying into the wall. And like, it's really funny. And but then by the end of that whole like conversation in the song, he's like, you know what, kid, you're all right. And you can tell like Baloo really likes him because he's like, man, it's just nice having another person around. Yeah. In this one, you're right. Like he shows up and he's like, hey, you're kind of small and nimble, and you can go up there and get that honey. And he like he's like, oh, I need it to hibernate, and then Bagheera is like,
he just gaslights
bears don't
him and
hibernate
like,
in the jungle, and so he's like, oh yeah, sorry, I take really long naps. He had some funny lines for sure, well,
and what's interesting is like, so he basically convinces Mowgli to go up on this cliff and get this honey for him because there's like a massive beehive complex hanging down from the cliffs. And while he's doing it, some other critters show up and are like, all right, who'd you get to do it this time? Basically implying that Baloo is like a fraudster who just like connives people into working for him. And so then Mowgli like falls down. He gets a big chunk of honeycomb and falls down. And so then Mowgli like creates this massive contraption like pulley system.
Yeah, that's where
wraps himself in makes himself a banana leaf suit. And he's just like full kid genius, which I'm gonna be honest, that's a trope I don't really like.
Well, it's definitely
because they're definitely okay. You know, there are kids who are incredibly smart,
right?
But none of that smartness is never tempered by actual experience,
right?
So a young like 20-something genius who then has to learn the hard way where experience helps, it's more believable than an 8-year-old who's like, I've created nuclear fusion. I'm like, shut up, kid, you don't even know what nuclear means.
Right. And it's always and it's never like they're astonished either. Well, I mean, you have like the bad characters being like, you couldn't do it, you're a kid. But there's nobody that's actually like act like a normal person would act. Like, hey, wait, you're 8 and you did this. We need to like film this. Like, this is insane. Like, this isn't normal. They're just like, oh, well, she worked really hard or something. Or like, I mean, she studied for a year, so she understands the quantum realm.
Yeah, I was going to say, they did this in Quantumania. Where it's like, oh, she read my journals. And therefore, I'm like, so you're telling me that in the 5 years that you were blipped, she studied quantum, like, okay, I have studied chemistry my entire life. Quantum mechanics is like essential to chemistry.
Right.
And I've read a lot about it, and I don't understand what the hell is going on. And anyone who tells you they understand quantum mechanics is lying to you because it doesn't make sense. Like, it works. It's one of those weird things. It works in like math. The math works. You can do the math and you're like, oh, I get the numbers I should get. Mm-hmm. But then when you try to talk about it, it doesn't make sense. You're like, well, it's here and here at the same time until you look at it and then it's only in one place. It's like, what does that mean? It means nothing. It's nonsense because we don't have good language to describe what's going on. Right. So if someone tells you, oh yeah, I just made a telescope into the quantum realm, like, honey, if you just tell me you're going to smoke weed, I don't believe you. It's okay. I did it when I was a kid too.
But that's definitely like
so stupid. But the kid genius is it just annoys me because it takes so much effort to actually get to the point where you can do things like that.
Right.
That it's very disrespectful to be like, well, this person's just naturally geniusly talented. And for a society that claims to be against that kind of like whatever. Anyways, like it annoys me. I hate kid geniuses. They're really annoying.
And this is like from a from capitalist perspective, this is why I think movies are doing that. I think it's mainly just because they're like, oh, kids are watching these movies.
They want to make them feel like
we want
hero.
them to feel like they can be the main characters. So instead of having Iron Man be, oh, you're a mid-30 whatever guy who's like, you've been a genius forever, you've been working on this forever, so now when we see you creating an Iron Man suit, it's believable.
Right.
No, we want this to be like a 16-year-old girl who like found scraps in her garage and
Oh
she
my gosh,
just
freaking
made it happen. And then it's like, oh, and also like everything else is just a little boy, a little girl that can just do all these things. Like all the X-Men now are starting super young, and it's not about the old fuddy-duddies, it's about and I think they're suffering for it because I think a story is much more fulfilling when you get like the original story of Jungle Book where the kid has to grow up. Like that's the message of the whole movie is that he's not capable now.
Exactly.
Which is the reality. Like you get killed and the only thing you have is your knowledge over these animals, and your knowledge is the only thing that beats Shere Khan, which is like the fire that you tie to his tail.
Right.
Whereas in this new one, it's like, oh, but you're also an engineer.
Yeah. But so that happens, and then Bagheera catches up with Baloo and explains the situation to him, and they're both like, okay, Baloo's like, all right, you do need to go, because again, it's weird because the wolves are kind of like, hey, maybe we can band together to defeat Shere Khan, but they ultimately end up probably not. And then Shere Khan shows up, and it was interesting because I was thinking about it. I was like, oh, so Shere Khan's not this all powerful creature in this one, but then he shows up and just kills Akela immediately. I'm like, okay, maybe, and the wolves are like, we can't do anything about this, and so I'm like, okay, maybe he is this all powerful creature, but during this thing, the elephants show up again. And Bagheera and Baloo are arguing, and these elephants show up again, and Mowgli looks over, and they're like looking over this pit. And so Mowgli like walks over to the pit, looks down in it, and then runs back, gets a vine and all that, gets his equipment together, and then throws the rope down. And there was like a baby elephant stuck in the pit, and he helped bring it back up. And so the elephants are like, "You're all right with me, kid."
Except for the elephants don't talk.
No, don't talk
for whatever reason.
And then they just disappear from the plot again.
Real elephants.
Yeah,
like, whereas like Bagheera and Baloo, these are all
mystical creatures.
Yeah, they're just like, well, they're like actual real elephant. Well, yeah, it's true. Like, they are mystical because they also apparently they don't have powers, but it's presumed that they're like God. Yeah, they choose
they're
whatever.
demigods.
Yeah, they're like, whatever happens this jungle, we want to choose and make it happen. Except for apparently getting the little kid out of a hole, in which case Mowgli needs help. But then then that's where they like bow to him or whatever.
Yeah. But so then Mowgli, it's funny, they actually get to the man village much earlier in this version, because you don't even see the man village until the very end of the movie in the original. But in this one, they actually make it there pretty early, and then then Mowgli finds out that Akela died.
Yeah,
and so then he's like, oh, I'm gonna go back and kill Shere Khan for revenge.
Right. This is like he's been taken by the monkeys, just like he is in the regular one. He's dancing with Baloo.
Oh,
he's
and
taken by the monkeys.
And Christopher Walken. So, oh my God. So,
this needs to be talked about.
King Louis is King Kong.
King Louis is
King Kong. He's literally King Kong.
He refers to himself as a gigantopiphalus or something weird. Like, he makes up a word. It's in the new version of the song. And he's literally humongous. He's like a giant. He's a giant orangutan. He's the size of King Kong, and rather than being like a jazz swinger, like a cool cat,
he's like a spoken word.
He's a mobster. Wow. He's like a New York mobster. He's sitting in the shadows, and he's like, so I hear you come to the jungle, and
you come to my jungle.
You come to my side of the jungle, and anyways, they call me Louis, and I'm just like, all right, this is not like at first I'm thinking, okay, whatever, it's a new direction. Like he's a little menacing because he's bigger now. Like, okay, like have him as a mob boss, but then the problem comes up. The problem is then he goes to sing a jazz song that you have to be a swinging jazz, scatter,
No,
and instead he's like, no, I'm the king of the swing, and I'm like, no. How could you do this? I mean,
pure garbage.
That was. Out of a movie that, again, we both said it's not terrible visually, and we'll get to that. I actually thought it was really good.
Yeah, it's actually good visually. The CGI is a little. Honestly, it's again, and this is the weird thing. Like Dumbo and this movie, you could see emotions on the animals. Not nearly to the extent of the cartoon, but you could. Lion King, exactly 0 emotions were displayed during that movie.
Yeah, I don't know what Lion King was doing, but this one,
And of course,
like,
Flounder and Little Mermaid.
certainly, and this one, somehow this one was far better than Little Mermaid CGI with the implementation of like human beings and some live sets into combining with the CGI animals.
A lot of the sets looked like they actually did real sets.
I think they were real sets mixed with some CGI animals, and I thought that one, I mean, it's infinitely better than Lion King, because Lion King, it's just it's an animated remake. It's not like there's nothing live action about it. And Little Mermaid, which had a lot of the same problems, where it was like, hey, animated fish and animated water and people floating around, for some reason it looked like cats, like where like the faces are like hovering over the animated body. Whereas this one actually looked good. Like his interaction with the CGI creatures looked really legit. For being such a little punk, he's actually a solid little actor. Like,
he did a good
considering
job.
he wasn't talking to anybody the whole time. But that song, and it's rough because it's such a good song too, and like he's like ooh ooh ooh, I want
to be like you,
and there's no other way you could do it, because you're like, hey, we decided to make Christopher Walken's be a New York mobster. And now he's gonna. I'm like, well, of course he's gonna sound like that. Like it's it's Christopher Walken. So I don't like King Louis, mainly because the main King Louis character in the original is just so great that it's like it's hard.
It's
to
also
see him
really
change.
weird that so again, in the original, King Louis wants to be a human.
Right.
Now, ostensibly, he's like Mowgli's size. Like he's chunkier, but he's Mowgli's size. Now in this one, I don't know if you've ever seen a 14-foot, 700-pound human walking
Not
around.
even 14 feet. He's like 30 feet tall.
Yeah, he's like 30 feet tall. I don't know if
gigantic.
you've seen these 30-foot, maybe in Sweden, but like normal places, you don't have 30-foot human beings walking around with, massive, just Hulk-like arms. So, I think you're fighting a losing battle there, Louis, my guy.
So anyways, keep going with the movie.
Yeah.
So
So he gets kidnapped by the monkeys.
Yeah.
And then they kill King Louis. I'm pretty sure he died, right?
Yeah, like, well,
he
the
gets
whole
crushed by
castle
the
gets
temple.
falls
Because like
on
in the
him.
original, the temple starts crumbling, but they're like holding up the pillars, and then everything crumbles around him. He's just left standing on top, holding nothing. In this one, he's underneath, in the chamber, and it collapses on top of him. So I'm pretty sure King Louis dies in that one.
Yeah, and
And I did make it was Beauty That Killed the Beast reference. I don't know if you were paying attention.
yeah,
but I did say that,
and that's from the Peter
But,
Jackson.
Yeah, so he finds out that Aquila was murdered, and he's like, I'm gonna go get Shere Khan. So he runs to the man village, and grabs a torch,
right.
and then runs to face Shere Khan, and lights the entire jungle on fire. Like the entire jungle is ablaze. Like he's running and you see sparks falling off of the torch, and the jungle is just lighting on fire. And so he
What
goes.
kind of jungle is this?
He goes and he fights Shere Khan. Basically, he tricks Shere Khan onto a branch because they did actually set this up way early in the movie when he's hunting with the wolves.
Yeah.
And he climbs up this tree and the branch snaps on him, and his mom
Bagheera.
wolf was it
It was
Bagheera? Yeah,
Bagheera.
Bagheera's like, you got to watch out for dead trees because they'll snap on you, and he tells him how to spot dead trees. So at the end, he's like, dead tree. And lures Shere Khan up there and gets Shere Khan to basically fall to his death.
Right.
And then the elephants come and put out all the fire with their magical elephant powers. I know it's a really weird ending to the movie. And then I honestly don't remember. Does he end up going to the man village at the end?
No.
No, yeah, that's what I thought.
Like,
he
this
doesn't
one,
go. So they completely changed
it's
the
a
ending.
very different
It's very
story.
weird. He got his revenge, and then the wolves are basically like, "We'll accept you and your human tricks."
Yeah.
It's really weird. It's a really weird ending.
Yeah. Overall, like, I would say that the message, like, you can't think about it in the same. It is not even close.
It's not
to
the
the
same
original message.
story.
Yeah, at all. It uses the same characters, kind of in the same way. The main plot is the same, where it's like, we've got to get you to the man village, but rather than to protect you,
Right. The
it's
motivation
kind of
is
like
the
half
same.
and half. It's like, well, we need to protect you, but also we need to protect everybody else.
And also, like, you've been using these human invention things. We're not okay with this.
Right. It's also like, yeah, like there's another reason to why you have to grow up there. So those are all present, but the actual themes of the movie as being like the original is pretty cut and dry, and like you pointed out, it's kind of similar to the Peter Pan method of being like, okay, there are certain elements that just represent different things, where it's like where Baloo represents, growing up and not, you like basically like if you grow older and you don't grow up, like
your bum.
continue to do what you want, like continue to be a child when you grow older, but you'll have no responsibilities and you'll ultimately just be, you know, a nihilist. And then you have King Louis who essentially wants to do everything you can do while not growing up, like and the only thing he seeks now is knowledge, which you can't get. And so it's like, well, these are the things you'll grow into if you stick around here, but you can't do that. Like you've got to get to your people, and you have to accept the fact that you got to grow up. And ultimately, at the end, it's like, I mean, it's like hitting puberty, right? It's like all of a sudden,
and that's what's interesting.
Like, girls are what's going to get me to motivate me to mature.
That's what's really interesting is because like up until that point, Mowgli he gets it, but he doesn't get it.
Yeah.
And then he sees the girl and he's like, "Oh, I get it." It's a great moment,
and it's awesome because like none of that is said. You can get that just from watching and just from seeing the like. You understand everything he's thinking. Like he's basically like he hears her like her song and it's a beautiful song. And he's just slowly, like, he's so transfixed and he's slowly creeping out there. He falls in the water and he kind of looks foolish. And she looks over there to him and she knows what she's doing.
And she just giggles.
And she giggles. She, like, lifts up the water, but then she accidentally drops her thing
man,
and it rolls over to
sly.
him. Yeah. And it's this great moment. And then you understand it. And, like you can see Baloo at this point going, oh, well, we chased off Shere Khan. Like, let's have him back. Like, I love him so much. And Bagheera being like, well, no, this is how it always supposed to. Like I care more about him than like me, well, Baloo being a very fantastic character, he's still thinking about himself. He's like, I want to still have fun with my buddy, as opposed to Bagheera, which is like, I actually want him to grow up.
Yeah, and there's that great scene where they're sitting next to each other, and Baloo's going, "Come back," and Bagheera's going, "Go on." It's great.
And so that being the main theme of the movie, and you get to meet these fun characters along the way as kind of representing what Mowgli would be if he stayed in the jungle and grew up. It's like it's very clean. It's understandable, and it's like it's so great.
And it's short.
Yeah, it's short. It's like it's to the point. Whereas this new one, again, it's not even that it's a terrible message
plot. It is kind of a terrible message.
Yeah,
it is kind of a terrible message. It's the message is go get revenge.
Yeah. So like Scar's thing is that it's not that he's like necessarily. Wow, Scar.
I didn't know he was in that movie.
Shere Khan. He has the scar on his face. So that's
true.
all I think now.
It's true.
So Shere Khan is motivated now not by like, well, I have to like kind of have my livelihood. He's more like, well, this is the exact human. Like, I'm gonna kill you because your dad like screwed me up. Yeah. And so that's like is pure motivation, and he's evil. Although there are several points in this one, especially because this one shows more unity of animals.
Yeah.
That you're like, all right, all of you guys could take this one tiger. There's literally one tiger, and there is like a horde of wildebeest, and there is a grizzly bear in this one, whereas the original, he's a black bear, presumably. I mean, maybe size doesn't match up, but he's black. He's animated, it's just a black bear. And so you assume, okay, a small black bear would get destroyed by a tiger. A grizzly bear, I'm pretty sure, is obliterating a tiger. I don't know.
All right, what do they do? Deadliest Warrior, but for animals.
It probably is an episode. If you're in chat right now, go look up who would win between a grizzly bear and a tiger and tell us.
What is it? It's like who would win in a fight between 10 trillion lions or the sun?
But like that's what it felt like. It felt like I didn't get that feeling animated as much because you only ever saw one animal at a time, and you got the idea that Baloo was just less threatening. Whereas in this one, it's like all of these animals, there's a giant pack full of wolves constantly, and they're constantly talking about how you stay in the pack and that's how you're safe. And yet they never display that. And then you have the elephants, of course, that I'm like, okay, well, they're going to come in at some point and just be like, yeah, move on.
Nope.
Like, leave. They don't show up.
They show up. The elephants show up exactly 3 times. They show up once to establish that there's these weird demigods, they're like these weird mystical creatures. The second time, Mowgli ingratiates himself to them by saving their kid so that they can show up the third time to save his ass when he lights the entire jungle on fire. I want to emphasize this again. He lights the entire... So in the original... They're in like a dry area with some dead trees, and lightning strikes, very Lion King-ish. It's funny, we're referencing things that I think, well, I don't know, Jungle Book came after Peter Pan, but it came before the Lion King.
Oh, way before Lion King, yeah.
So, but lightning strikes a tree and lights it on fire.
Right.
And so he grabs a burning stick and ties it to Shere Khan's tail. So he uses he didn't start the fire.
Mowgli didn't start the fire.
But in the other one, it's because he's a monkey and he doesn't understand that fire hot.
Well, like
he's just this Mr. Engineer. You'd think he would have figured out how to light stuff on. Like, okay,
You're trying to convince me that this kid
he's making these complex, intricate pulley systems, and we see him like smashing things together. At some point, you would think he would hit two rocks together and see a spark and be like, "Huh." I mean, okay, look, I don't know, audience members, if you've ever been a small child. But small childs really like shiny things. If you hit two rocks together and they make sparks, guess what a kid is going to do? They're going to keep doing that.
Yeah.
And at some point, they might light something on fire, and they'll make that connection that, oh, sparks give me fire. At some point, Mowgli, being this brilliant engineer that he is, would have figured out how to make fire. But no, he grabs a torch and he's just like sprinting through the woods, dropping sparks everywhere. And literally, while he's fighting Shere Khan, the entire jungle is just an inferno around him. So if the elephants aren't there, he just killed everyone and proved Shere Khan was right to try to kill him.
Well, see, like from a thematic standpoint, that's where I was confused when that happened, because I watched this when it was in theaters, so it was like 10 years ago. One time, that was it. And I didn't understand. I didn't remember that part. But when I saw it, I was sitting there. I'm like, what does this mean? like, what are they trying to say? Are they trying? Is the message that, like, because the whole time you kind of get the hint that
the most dangerous animal was man.
But like he has these inventions, but for all the animals, they're like, oh, that's not like pure animal life. Like we can't do that. It's almost like this is progressive and like we're all like conservative animals, and like you can't bring this new. If it's new, if it's strange, we don't like it. And so you're like, okay, by the end of the movie, that's going to be the main thing, is that they're going to realize that that's good, and that he brings good. You get the hint with him pulling the elephant out, like he's going to do something that's going to save everybody. And then he goes and he gets fire, which represents me growing up and me actually living into my manhood and being a man.
But I think it represents. I think it's intended to represent like the potential of man and the danger of like a fully grown human.
Yeah,
because the original, They do imply that man is dangerous, and that's why Shere Khan wants to kill Mowgli, because he understands man is dangerous, and fire is like a symbol of that. It's like, oh, here's this incredibly dangerous thing that man has some control over. Whereas in this one, it's just like he just burns the whole jungle down. What was the point of that?
And that's why I didn't understand, because I'm like, well, what are they trying to say with this part where he lights everything on fire? Because then he doesn't use the fire. So this is one of the main differences between. So the original one, he uses the fire to chase off Shere Khan, and you can kind of get the understanding that everybody's kind of been pointing to, like, King Louis is like, hey, fire was what makes you you, and so you're like, okay, well, what makes humans different than animals? And you like you are a human, like you have the potential, like you have potential and animals don't. So like that's kind of the idea at the original, and he has to use that potential to finally overcome death, which has been stalking him, and he lives into that and he grows up. Whereas this one's like, all right, well, finally he latches onto this thing that's fire, which I think you give a good example that it's like, I think it more so represented potential of man, like it can be good, it can be bad. Ka talks about it in the vision where he's like, oh, it can actually keep you warm, but it can also destroy. And she's like, ooh, like, so is he finally going to show the animals that like this can be used in a healthy way? And it's like, well, no, he burns the entire jungle down, and then
the elephants just save him.
And then when he finally has the one thing, like he's brought it here because he knows he can beat Shere Khan with it, he throws it into the water. It's like, wait, okay, you already lit, like that's not going to turn the forest off fire. That's your only weapon. And so he throws it in, and of course then he goes, that's the stupidest thing you could have done. That's literally the line. Shere Khan looks at him and he goes, that's the stupidest thing you could have done. It's with Idris Elba.
That's the stupidest thing you could have done, isn't it?
in his amazing accent.
It is amazing accent.
And then there's
that's right. Idris Elba plays Shere Khan. I forgot about that.
And then there's like a big brawl, like like Baloo steps in, gets destroyed, which again looks silly considering he's a grizzly bear in this one. And I'm like,
and he's like 10 times the size.
I'm like, literally, he could sink his teeth and his claws into your huff, and like a grizzly bear wouldn't feel a thing. It would rip the freaking thing's face off, unless chat says otherwise.
5 Shavely says that apparently tigers do win that fight.
Really?
I mean, they're very lean. They're very powerful. Grizzlies are strong fighters too, but grizzlies don't chase prey the same way tigers do. Well, like tigers hunt down similarly sized prey, whereas grizzly bears don't. Like grizzly bears have a ton of muscle,
right?
But they don't use it the same way the tigers do.
Like I think, well, so like out of all the bears, like a polar bear is the only bear that's purely carnivorous. Like it doesn't eat like plants and berries.
That's because
and things
it
like
lives
that.
in places where there are no plants and berries to eat.
So I think that's why the grizzly bear like has more of a depiction of being lazy, because it can just do those things, and I think that's why it's ultimately a hypothetical that a grizzly bear would ever fight a tiger. But I don't know. I gotta think that if it was motivated to,
we still have to ask the question: are grizzly bears native to India?
that is the real question. Chat, can you help us out?
It's apparently that's controversial. I'm guessing tigers and grizzly bears have never actually had a fight because they're in completely different biomes. So there's never actually been a tiger grizzly fight.
I thought you meant bears living in India being controversial. Okay, yes,
that could be controversial too. I don't know if grizzly bears live in India. I think they're native to the American Northwest.
I mainly, I would just say optically, it looked like, from a movie standpoint, I was like, well, why is this tiny like lion, like tiger, winning this fight against a giant bear? But anyways, so yeah, so overall thoughts of the live action. Bare Necessities was solid. Like, they didn't change it too much. They didn't include both the elephant song and
the elephants didn't do anything,
and the
Beatles.
The Beatles,
the vultures just didn't exist.
Yeah, they didn't exist. They included Ka, but Ka was way worse because
and didn't come back either.
Yeah, she just showed up, and just to kind of be a visual spectacle, it was very much like haunting. Like it was designed to be trippy and creepy, and like it was honestly just a story device to tell you more about his backstory. And then she was tackled by Baloo, and you never see her again. Whereas in the original, he's a very quirky character.
All right, I'm being told that grizzlies are not, but sun bears, which are smaller bears, are. Sun bears.
So that makes more sense, because then we can assume he's a smaller bear. Although I think he even says he's a grizzly.
maybe he's just lying. Maybe he's just lying.
Yeah, that would be on
because he is like, oh yeah, I'm totally a grizzly bear. I totally hibernate.
yeah, it's true. Like that would be.
That's the question. How does he know what grizzly bears exist? But still,
Liam, what kind of bear did you think he was when you watched it?
I actually thought he was a panda bear.
Yeah,
but I was wearing my glasses.
I figured you would think that because you're stupid.
You're being really mean to Liam today. Liam, defend yourself. I hate you, Greg. Good job.
Why do you have that stupid volleyball with you?
Because I'm better at this game than you are. Ooh, damn. It's heating up in here.
All right, we're not talking to Liam anymore.
All right, well, I mean, the thing is, I don't think we have much more to say about this movie.
Well, okay, what are the good things about the live action? Because I was engaged. I wasn't turned off by it. I think in light of watching the original, it's more like, hey, this had more rich themes. The story was cleaner. You're happier at the end. You're like, this made sense, as opposed to, I think I'm still a little unclear on what the message is. It's more like, hey, be
unclear.
Which is it's like,
hey kids, revenge is great. That was the message that I got. Because I mean, both of them are going for revenge. He got his revenge, and now he gets to stay where he wants to. So revenge got him what he ultimately wanted. He didn't want to go to the man village. He wanted to stay in the jungle. He wanted to stay with the wolves, and he got to do that because he took revenge on Shere Khan for killing Akela.
And so it's more.
And I'm like, is that?
It's like
a
good
really message for kids. Hey kids, if you kill the people who harm you, you'll have everything you want in life. It seems like a bad message.
I mean, it's a very shallow kind of like, hey, be yourself, and to me, like that's not a very helpful message, because like in the original, you see all the things he has to do to grow up, and there's a lot of complexities that go into growing up. Like, you need help, like you need good people in your life. You need good people in your life past when you think you do. Like I'm 30 and I still need people in my life telling me that I'm an idiot.
I'm 33. I no longer need people.
This is why I keep you. This is honestly why I keep you around. It's so you can be like, hey, Greg, you're being an idiot. And so I'm still growing up in those ways. And I think themes like that.
It's the only reason he keeps me around.
But themes like that really show, I think, a more accurate depiction of humanity and kind of our state of being fallen beings. Is just a cleaner message than being like, you just have to be more of yourself, and then you'll defeat all of life's problems. And I'm like, that's kind of asking you to isolate. Like it's calling you to constantly be the own arbiter, like figure it out for yourself. And it turns out like we're pretty bad at doing that.
And the other thing is, like, if the elephants hadn't show up, he would have burned down the jungle.
Yeah.
So it's like, you think that maybe it's showing him the dangers of going off on your own without a clue of what you're doing, right? Because he doesn't understand fire, because presumably he's never seen it before in his life. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't understand the power and the danger of fire. And he's never going to learn that lesson because the elephants just showed up and saved him. So he's like this giant burning inferno, and it's his fault, and everyone he loves is going to die because he's burning the jungle down. And then the elephants are like, "Got you, fam."
Right.
So
And
like,
I don't. Yes.
was that supposed to be a lesson that you need to be careful with fire, or was that not? Listen, whatever fire is a metaphor for. Maybe it's just literal fire. Don't play with fire. Was that supposed to? Well, was that the message? Because Mowgli definitely doesn't get that message because
Right.
the elephants just show up and bail him out. So I don't know if Mowgli actually gets that message, and I don't know if they're trying to give that. Yeah, I don't understand the message I was supposed to get out of New Jungle Book.
That's exactly where I'm landing. Whereas, like, it wasn't like a pain to watch visually. Like we talked about how visually I actually thought it was good, and like I enjoyed like some of the scenes were actually impressive as far as the camera work. Where I was like, oh, they actually filmed this outside somewhere, and the CG is interacting now with a live environment, because like that's impressive work, because there were some really long shots of him running. So I liked those elements. I liked the Baloo character in general. I mean, it's Bill Murray. Like, you really couldn't have gone wrong. Like he's great. He has a lot of additions, like some really funny lines. He like climbs this mountain to get to where King Louis is, and he's like walking into the temple. And as opposed to, like, again, in comparison with the original, it's true, it's not as good, pretty much in any way. But there was still this appealing part where he's just like walking up to Louis, and he's just like acting like he got lost. he's like, oh hey, I was just and then he's like, oh my, is that the King Louis? He's like, listen, man, I gotta tell you, and like the monkeys are all trying to stop him, but he's not even paying attention. He's like eating them and just like walking through them, and he's like, how do I do it? Can I just be a part of the gang? Can I be one of you guys? And like, and he's stalling, but it's like if you told Bill Murray to walk into the movie and stall, and like that's what you got.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of really funny lines, like where he's like jabbering with the other animals, or like that whole scene. He's just overall just a great addition.
Yeah. So
Christopher Walken is
a
kind
disaster.
of a meh, but
everything else in the movie was good.
it was
Idris Elba is
solid.
definitely like very menacing.
Yeah, it's a better job with Idris Elba than Big Chin. Big Chin.
Big Chin was like, but it was a goofy villain, but you still got an impression.
He looked like Tigger
when he did, but like when he just absolutely neutralizes Kaa, you get an idea of, okay, because Kaa, Mowgli obviously, but he also took out Bagheera, who we know is pretty strong, and Bagheera didn't stand a chance to Kaa, and then Kaa couldn't do anything to Shere Khan. So they did kind of establish his power level.
Yeah. It was it wasn't a bad watch at all. It's probably for me a pretty easy second best out of all the live actions we watched.
Out of the live actions, it's again
because for the live actions we have
on the
all
positive,
of them, and then we have
five
like a
is the
pretty
middle,
solid one,
and we have positives and negatives. This is the second one that slid. I would put Little Mermaid like right on the line at 5. Maybe a 4.
Maybe I bet lower
because
than
that.
But
because honestly, I'm thinking if I want to critique the story, then I can critique so much of the Little Mermaid.
Sure.
However, if I'm going to say a movie that I could sit through without wanting to get up and leave, Little Mermaid just barely makes that mark. And then Aladdin and Jungle Book, I would happily watch those again. Although, for all of them, I'd rather just watch the original.
Yes, all of them. That has been the consensus. I think for all of us. And there have been a few that like would be torture to rewatch, and those all exist at the bottom, where it's like those are your Peter Pan, your Dumbo live actions. I mean, the Lion King live action is pretty atrocious.
Beauty and the Beast wasn't great.
They've all existed down there. This is for sure. Was for sure a solid. It was just good. Both the original, it ranks very highly for me.
I would give the live action like a 6.5.
Yeah, and the live action ranks pretty high as well.
If I could figure out what the point of the story was, then maybe I could rank it higher, because like the visuals are very good. Other than Christopher Walken, the music is good. The voice acting is good. It's pretty funny. Like everything for the most part works, except for the primary story beats.
And this is
like the conclusion of the story just doesn't make any sense.
And the funny thing is, like, part of me thinks that if I did understand what they were trying to say, I
would
might
hate it more. Yeah,
because it might be some weird message.
The ambiguity is working in your favor. I don't get it, so it's fine.
I feel like what they were trying to do could have been just some awful, like, hipster, just like, hey, like, man is bad and like be an animal or something just horrible. And so the fact that I don't understand, I'm like, maybe this makes it a little better.
Shavely rightfully says that Flounder was an automatic no. That's fair. That is
Flounder.
a perfect okay. If you saw that and you're like, I can't watch this movie, You are not wrong. It was
Yeah.
that was an abomination. The only thing that saved that was I keep wanting to call her Halle Berry, but it's not Halle Berry. It's Halle Bailey.
Yeah.
Had a fantastic voice and did a really good job singing and did a pretty decent job acting too. So
That movie, 100%.
She tried very hard to carry that movie. Unfortunately, they completely ruined the ending to the point where it stopped making sense. Like not just like, oh, they changed it because they wanted to tell a different.
No,
they wanted to
it's
give you
like
a
they
different
told the same story,
They
and then
told
they
the
just
same
changed
story,
the
then they changed the ending in such a way that the ending no longer made sense.
Yeah.
And it's like, guys, you're idiots.
It was a layup.
It's
Just
like
take it. It's
it
so
was
easy.
free, and you still tried to pay for it.
No, but I would agree. I would agree. As soon as especially go watch the original and then go watch the live action, and you'll be like, "What is Flounder?" You are a screensaver on my like. You just leave. Like it's like ha. It's literally like a real fish wiggling, and like human voices are coming out of it. Like what am I looking at?
Shavely brings up the live action Lilo and Stitch. That's going to be an abomination. And Lilo and Stitch is one of my top Disney movies of all time. It's such a good movie. It's so good, and it's going to be an abomination. And when I might throw something at the screen when I watch it.
Yeah, predictions right now as to like what the message of the new Lilo and Stitch is going to be, because it can't be about like
Ohana means family.
it can't be about family, right? Like we can't have like
no.
like,
It's gonna be okay if they did this and and Dominic Toretto shows up and was like Ohana means family, and I would watch that movie. Disney, that's how you save live action Lilo and Stitch. Get Dom in there, family.
It's just he just rolls up like hand stitch Corona.
He just drives his the Gran Torino across the ocean and just drives it up on land, pops out with a Corona. Hey Lilo, family. Ohana means family.
Wait, what if he just plays Stitch the whole movie? Like they don't do makeup or anything. He's just like on all fours the whole movie as Stitch.
That would be Disney. Pay us money. Pay us money.
We could
pay
do
us
this.
money.
It could be a sequel. It could be called Fast Disney. I don't know.
It'd be Fast 11 Ohana.
What is a Fast and Furious play on words that has to go with Lilo and Stitch?
Oh man,
Zero.
Too Stitch, Too Furious. I don't know.
Fast Lilo. And it's just I don't know.
I don't know,
man.
but yeah. I would. You can watch a live action Jungle Book and you'll enjoy it.
Yeah. Go. I would.
But
I would
try it. But come back and tell us what was the point of the movie. Like what was the lesson that I was supposed to learn from the movie, or what was the lesson Mowgli was supposed to learn from the movie? Because I'm not sure I can tell you that.
Yeah. That would be my main takeaway. They're both definitely worth watching, and they're different enough that you could just you could watch them separately, and they're not really all that same.
Well, we watched them one day after the other, and I didn't feel like we just saw
bad.
this.
Yeah,
wasn't bad.
All right, so what? Well, I guess we can tell people where to find us first before we talk about next week.
Pull that up.
But if you guys like this show, if you're watching and you haven't yet, subscribe. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to chat with you guys. If you subscribe, you're able to kind of chat with us live. Tell us your thoughts. Tell us why we're wrong. Tell Liam that
he's an idiot.
His takes were really good, and lie to him.
No, don't feed the trolls. I love you, Liam. I love you more than Greg.
We honestly love you a lot, Liam, and we miss you. But if you want to follow us
that
on
makes
YouTube,
it sound like he's passed away. Rest in peace, Liam.
He's like at a dinner
you.
or something. But follow us on YouTube, Dearly Debated. Go subscribe. This is technically Dearly Debated Deep Dives, which is why we're called the podcast
4D
4D podcast.
And we do have an audio version.
The audio version is just Dearly Debated, started by Nathanael and I. So you can follow us there on Spotify. Also, if you want to see more me and Nathanael content, go check out The Kitchen Chemist on YouTube. We have just started releasing season 2, and it has been really great so far. Go watch the season 2 trailer; it'll get you hyped up, and subscribe to that as well if you'd like. So what are we doing next, man? So who gets the pick first?
Liam technically picked this one.
Liam. We're really glad that you. Man, you look so healthy and thin. Anyways. So
I think it's my pick.
Yeah.
So I get to pick one of the stinkers. So we
got 5 left.
We want to. Yes. So we have Pinocchio, Lady and the Tramp,
Cinderella.
and Mulan. We got 4 left.
Okay, 4 left.
I don't think I'm missing one.
No, you're not. You're not. Because we did a bad and a good one, and we had 6. Okay, so
we're gonna do a
2
bad
bad ones
one,
and 2 good ones.
then Cinderella, then a bad one, then Mulan.
Okay.
So the question is, do we want to do Pinocchio? I keep talking about how I can't remember a single thing from Lady and the Tramp. Let's do that one next.
Okay. Lady and the Tramp.
So we're gonna watch
We'll
Lady
try
and the
to
Tramp.
get Jay Nathanael on with us.
So if we can't get Jay for next 2 weeks from now, so it's 2 weeks from now, which is, let me look at the calendar. It is the 26th. So if we can't get Jay, so Jay Natali, who was a guest host on the Aladdin, actually worked on the music for Lady and the Tramp live action, and so we're gonna bring him on here. We're gonna give him the 9th degree or the 3rd degree or whatever, and say, "How dare you explain yourself?"
Yeah.
So
he already apologized.
So,
apparently,
he did already apologize for that. It wasn't sufficient. So we're gonna try to get him on for that. So next week, next time, if he's not available next time, then we will be doing live action Pinocchio, which by all accounts is an absolute atrocity. Like bottom of the barrel. Like even the people who normally okay with the live action Disney stuff hated this movie. So I'm not sure we're gonna enjoy it because I don't remember enjoying the original Pinocchio either. So
if you're
we'll see.
If you're a viewer, go back, watch Pinocchio and Lady and the Tramp in the next 2 weeks. Get around to it. You don't have to do both, but watch one or the other. Try to get the live action or the animated original. So you can join in with us. So you can bring us your thoughts.
I will put out. So we do have a dearly debated Twitter. Sorry, dearly debated X.
That's controversial.
Look,
We can't.
I'm not like an Elon Musk hater. But I think X is the dumbest thing ever. Yeah. I hate it. I hate X. It's so stupid. I'm not like anti-Elon person. I honestly couldn't care less about him.
Yeah.
But I know but I know a lot of people have very strong feelings. And I'm like, you don't know, and you don't know him. Like, get over yourself.
You don't.
But
How dare you.
I will. I just X is so stupid. Like I sent out an X post, an tweet, an X. I don't know. X is dumb. But we have a Twitter. At Dearly Debated. We'll post on there as soon as we know whether we have Jay. We'll post on there. So follow us on Twitter. We'll post whether or not we're watching Lady and the Tramp. Yeah. If we're not watching Lady and the Tramp, then we're doing Pinocchio. So we'll let you guys know as soon as we can. As soon as we get in contact with Jay and figure out whether he can join us, we'll know and we'll let you know.
We haven't jumped to the wide angle. I feel like this whole entire thing, so that people can see Liam.
I did once or twice.
Okay, because I feel like this just helps people understand the ridiculousness of what I'm doing. I'm literally sitting next to a volleyball and a piece of paper. Thank you, Liam.
What? Liam's not actually there
for doing this to me. Thank you for.
Are you telling me this isn't Liam? Stop. This is what.
In 2 weeks, we will definitely have Liam and hopefully Jay as well. So
we'll have a full house.
Thank you guys for tuning in and watching. We're happy to be here, and we will see you guys in a couple of weeks. Have a good night.
Bye. We need crickets in the background when we point at Liam. No, we were fools. Why, Shavely? You need to come produce on this show. You have good ideas. Bye.
See you later.